Hi Chris, how are you?
Good afternoon, Rod. Yeah, I'm well. Here we are. It's episode 230. It's the 22nd of June. It's 2026, and it's incredibly hot. And we're about to start, I think, the hottest 3 days of the year, which would have been a big thing, but we seem to be getting hotter days more frequently now.
Yeah, we don't do hot well in the UK either, do we? We kind of just complain a lot and sit around sighing a lot.
Yeah, I'm not too bad with it, actually. I'm generally all right. I'm just hot in my shed. If I wasn't recording with you right now, I wouldn't be in my shed. I'd be just up in the house, in the cooler part of the house, chilling. But my dog is not coping well with it. I do feel a little sorry for him because he's just like, oh, and that's me pulling a face of a dog when he sits in the shade. So love him.
Love him to bits. I'm sure my dog is. Well, she's black as well, which doesn't help. She goes out in the sun. She turns into like a radiator.
Yeah, that's the wrong colour to be, isn't it? It's when you see the big, real fluffy things like crumbs, they must be struggling.
Yeah, it's got to be a struggle for them. Let's do some follow-up. So first up, in follow-up, and this is all post-WWDC nonsense, I think we're probably expecting a beta update today or tomorrow.
I hope so, because I am enjoying the beta train, but I think I could do with some updates.
Yeah, Chris was just telling me how he's desperate to put it on his production studio Mac, and I'm like, do not put Golden Gate on a production machine.
I'm running on everything else, so why wouldn't I run it on this? There we are. But I'll probably touch on that when we get to the main show.
All right, let's touch on that. So in this story, however, we talked months ago now about Brazil forcing Apple to allow alternative app stores a la Europe. Well, they allowed that last week. We missed that in all the WWDC madness, but this is immediately them having done it. Epic Games and the Coalition for App Fairness slamming the Apple App Store. So basically the terms that developers are having to pay to use alternative app stores are swinging. Under the new terms, developers who remain in the App Store and use Apple's AIEP system will pay a 5% processing fee, plus the App Store commission from 10 to 21%. Those using a third-party in-app payment system will pay a commission between 10 and 21%, while apps that link to external options will pay a commission between 10 and 18%. So, same stuff Apple always pulls.
Yeah, basically they've complied to the letter of the law, pretty much what they did in Japan. And it's not really that much incentive for you, the developer, to do anything different than what you're already doing, because you're not really going to save any money. I do think Apple 10 years ago still should be the bigger person in the room and gone, we're going to drop our commission rates. We're making £1 billion a year. We're good. We're going to keep throttling it back. Okay, as we get more and more people on the App Store, we're going to keep throttling it back and be the bigger person. So we never end up in this scenario. But they didn't do that. And now they're just being really stingy. I hate it. If John Turner could do one thing, this would be a good thing for him to do.
I mean, you look at these other companies in this coalition. I mean, Epic's the big dog in the room here, and let's face it, they've been incredibly litigious against Apple and really sort of pushed this around the world. Other than maybe the EU, they're probably the next biggest agency trying to do something. But you've also got Basecamp, which isn't a surprise given David Heinemeier Hanssen's background. Deezer, Epic we've talked about, Match, Proton Mail, Spotify, and Tile, amongst others. I mean, that's quite a lot of people who flourish in more open ecosystems, I think it's fair to say. And Apple are, they're pushing people back, and I think the walled garden, the walls just get ever higher, even when you kind of make a break for freedom.
I concur with you. I just don't get why they're doing it, and it must be a nightmare for them to test all of this stuff. You can see why they're not developing some of the other apps, because they're probably pulling more people onto the App Store to test all the weird and wonderful stuff. And I know they automate a bunch of it, but there's still so much granularity, and if this carries on every country, I just don't see how they're going to regulate it.
Well, I mean, we're already seeing that Siri AI won't come to the EU anytime soon, or China, as was announced in the keynote. So whether they're missing out, I suppose, is debatable. I guess we can talk about that later, but it's certainly an option that they're not being given because they go to alternative app stores and because they don't like the EU stance on the DMA. That's only going to get worse too. I mean, what are you going to have? You're going to have a Venn diagram with all the people in and all the people out, and you've got to develop a different app pricing model for Japan, for the EU, for Brazil, for Korea, and the list will just get longer and longer, as you say. So at some point, they're just going to have to suck it up, I think.
I concur. Surely there comes a tipping point when 50% have got these rules, and then actually let's just apply it back to everybody. I don't really understand it. It just seems bizarre to me.
And there is the thought that holding back something like, I think, iPhone mirroring in the EU, as well as the new Siri AI features, isn't that big a deal? I don't use iPhone mirroring. I don't think it's something I can live without. And Siri AI is all right, but I don't think it's certainly not better than a Claude or one of the later Copilot models.
I think it depends how much you use Siri AI and whether your apps that you use are going to support it and that they're plumbed into it. And then it will be better because it'll be plumbed into everything that you're doing. But that will only come in the fullness of time. iPhone kind of agree with you, but I don't use my Mac all day. So maybe if I was in an office and I was trying to covertly use my phone, maybe I would use it. But your Mac signs into all the apps you are. You can send a text from your Mac, so why do you need your phone? So, iPhone probably would have been cool 15 years ago.
It would have been very cool. Something else that's probably not cool for Apple and Intel. There was sort of a sneak announcement to this a few weeks back about Apple and Intel forming some sort of chip manufacturing deal for the less dense chips. I think it's probably fair to say the ones that might end up in watches and things like that. So not the 3 nanometer and below process, but things that can be made in America. With Intel, they're going to sign a deal. Well, Trump took to his social, what's it called, Truth Social, to make this announcement that Apple and Intel have closed this deal to manufacture chips. Neither company has actually said this is the case yet, though.
I wonder if the deal has closed or whether Trump's jumped the gun. Feels like Intel might be having a resurgence. Obviously, it's not what Intel used to do, but it feels like something's good's happening for Intel.
Well, Intel could do with something good, and the current generation of chips certainly seems to have gone very, very well indeed. The mobile chips, the battery life in them has been incredibly well received, considering Intel of old did not care about heat. It's funny, I think I flashed up on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, my ThinkPad that I'm a big fan of. I think it's a terrific laptop. That thing gets hot. Oh my gosh, that thing gets hot if you actually put any strain on it. I mean, it's only an 8th generation, and I think we're up to the 14th generation of Intel chips. But yeah, I mean, fair play Intel. They do seem to be coming back a little bit.
Yeah, which is good. Like, as much as I don't want to have an Intel chip anytime soon, I don't want them to go under. So, and we need competition, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's good they're having a resurgence.
I mean, you say that. You and I are both slightly about Apple at this point. If Intel came out with a chip that had 24-hour battery life, amazing all-day network performance, could decode video and game, then we might, on Linux, obviously, because I'm not installing Windows, you and I might be going, oh, okay, that's interesting. That could be good.
You raise a fair point, actually. And if I was building a gaming computer now, I'll be honest, I'm so decoupled from it, I have no idea what chip I would put in it.
Well, maybe we should do some follow-up on that. I'm having thoughts towards a home theater PC running Steam Big Picture mode at the moment. Well, we might save that for a show another day, I think.
Ooh.
Let's stick to the follow-up, though. So, in follow-up, and you know how much we like to talk about Palantir, this is more probably bad news for Palantir.
I refuse to read this article because it said Palantir in it.
Yeah, but we need to deal with it, Chris, because you're in England. The English NHS is heavily engaged with Palantir. The only part of the English NHS that isn't engaged with Palantir is the Northern Care Alliance in Manchester. So your records are in here somewhere, as is your children's, as is your wives.
And they're probably leaked all over the internet.
Probably. However, nearly a third of this is according to the Register from earlier in the week, nearly a third of NHS trusts using Palantir's health data platform are performing fewer patient procedures than before it went live. That's bad for something you spent a lot of money on and is causing all this controversy.
Yeah, not good at all, is it? Like, huge investment. Now we're doing less procedures. Doesn't feel like a good metric.
No, and given the pushback that they're having from the public, from MPs, from privacy watchdogs, and we've got another little story about Peter Thiel later on that might make you think twice about using his company as well. Yeah, I think the time has come, NHS England. Rethink the Palantir deal.
I can't believe they haven't done it. But we're about to get a new Prime Minister, so everything's going to get put on hold. You can just see it now.
This came as a complete shock to me today. I mean, I had thought something might happen after. So that in the UK, there was an election, a by-election recently, where the ex-mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, became an MP, previously been denied a seat by the sitting Prime Minister. And I came back from moving some of my daughter's stuff around, and Keir Starmer had resigned. So this was a real shock to me.
I don't think it was a shock to me. I had caught a bit of the news. And it just feels like there was mountain pressure, and this is it. But we seem to solve everything with, let's just put a new person in. Like, that seems to be our go-to. I think it's 7 prime ministers in 10 years. So nobody's really seeing out their tenure yet. Like, this is not good.
It didn't work out well for the last few Tory prime ministers, and it didn't work out for the Conservative Party.
You mean the Labour Party?
No, I mean the Conservative Party, because they went from Boris Johnson. No, they went from David Cameron to Theresa May to Boris Johnson to
Truss, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we had Keir, who we all voted for, apparently.
We did all vote for Keir.
Somebody that we didn't vote for.
And without getting too deeply into the politics, for about almost 2 years, we had almost period of stability, but it's all about to come up. The wheels are about to come off again.
Agreed. It's bonkers.
Let's talk about something else that's bonkers, and that's Apple collecting analytics. And I don't know how I feel about this, actually. So Apple has always said any analytics they collect are entirely for, either by mistake because they left on Siri listening in the background. Remember that scandal that happened? Or for developers to learn performance characteristics about their apps or whatever, but they don't collect sort of motion data, where you're scrolling, where you're clicking, that sort of dark pattern stuff that lots of websites do now. However, it has been revealed in current versions of the App Store, it does track absolutely every single thing you do, where you scroll, where you type, how often you look at a web page, where you're clicking on pages, where you're tapping, and I don't like that at all.
I concur with you on this, and I think I had seen something about this a little while ago, because where did it go? I think it came up a while ago, a few years ago, and they're literally just scraping everything. And no wonder the apps are getting slower, because they must be scraping so much data and sending it back home. What do they do with all this data? And yet the App Store's still an awful app.
But yeah, I agree with you. It's an awful app, and iTunes is an awful app. We might talk about that later as well. But the more worrying thing for me is it's a small step from, we'll just do analytics in the App Store to, why don't we do it on Safari? Why don't we do it in the file browser? Why don't we do it in other places as well? And then we're in Microsoft land.
Yeah, and they did say when they launched Vision Pro, we don't track what you're looking at, but how long are they going to keep that up?
Well, they are tracking what you look at in the App Store.
Yeah, but I guess that's different though, because it's not necessarily what you're looking at, it's what you're touching. Whereas you may look at an image for longer, I guess. I don't know. But you're right. I don't agree with it. I don't know why they want all this data. I don't know what you're going to do with it. And yet you still don't make good apps. So you're not really using it really well, unless you're just using it to make more money.
Well, that's exactly why they're using it. It's for better recommendations to serve you slop that they can make more money on than the 30% charge or 20% charge or whatever it is they charge for people these days. I just want to revisit that a minute. Is there no App Store on the Vision Pro?
Yeah, there must be.
So they're tracking what you look at then?
Well, this is what they said they weren't doing, though. They're only tracking what you clicked on with your eyes, but they weren't tracking if you gazed at an image or part of a screen. That was my understanding when they announced it.
But they must. If you've got this level of analytics built within the App Store, and I'm scrolling with my eyes on my Vision Pro through the App Store to find the app that I'm looking for, and they serve you some ad for something else, then you're going to look at that ad, right? And they're going to get a feeling for how long you actually rest your eyes on that before you move on to something else. They have to as part of the analytics.
I would concur with you, by the way. And I just don't understand it. And I hate that they do this. Build good apps, put them out there. Don't trawl for all my data.
Yeah, it's grotty. Speaking of grotty, and this probably isn't fair, but this is another article on the Register. They've obviously been using Siri AI on their iPhone and their Mac and things like that. I have been using it on a Mac. I think you've been using it on almost everything.
Correct. Well, everything that I own, I don't own a Vision Pro or watch.
Yeah, but obviously, it wouldn't run on my watch anyway because it's not supported, the Ultra, and neither is yours, actually, the last Apple Watch you had. But this is, the thrust of this article from the Register is that, yeah, it's better in many cases, but it's worse for the things that we used to rely on Spotlight for, specifically launching apps that you might not launch all that frequently. And my nothing usage, I have traveled with my my Golden Gate laptop, so I've had a decent amount of time in front of it. And I would agree, if you're trying to do those quick launchy things that you did before, and I've been forcing myself to use Siri AI, not Alfred. I even changed the shortcut back to be the Spotlight one. It's not as good at that kind of stuff at all. And actually, I don't find Siri AI all that helpful all the time.
So I would concur. I don't think it is as good as Spotlight. Literally, all I would ever use Spotlight for on my iPad is launch this app. Command space, done. And the same on my iPhone. Pull down, type the app name in. It's not as good. It's often going off and trying to do something in settings. I was like, no, I don't want settings. I've got an app there. Just launch the app. So I would concur on that. Siri being as good or as bad, I haven't used it enough, to be honest. It's taken me a little while to change my habits, I think. So I need to challenge myself more, I think, to reuse Siri.
Yeah, the app that gathers all your conversations into one place is relatively useful. I asked it to rate one of my presentations. I said I was giving a presentation. I said, does this scan well? Will it present well? And it said, it's all very good. What lovely graphics you've picked. It was very complimentary and all the rest of it. And they weren't the best, but it told a story. But they said, you need one more slide to make this transition. And that's the kind of stuff that, I have found myself going to the Claudes and things for from now on. I don't want it to generate things for me. I just want it to mark what I do as much as anything else.
That's good. That's a good way of using it. I like that.
Yeah, so you're not breaking your brain, but it's just like somebody else to check with. And from that point of view, I did find it quite useful, but that's really been the only instance where it's been any more useful than a workflow I'd already had before.
Yeah, I think I've just got to reteach myself, and it's hard, isn't it, to start using these tools more, because if you're so used to doing it one way, it's then hard to reprogram yourself. So I've not used it enough. I was also waiting, if I'm honest, for the update to get the better voices and stuff in the UK. I thought it'd be a bit more engaging. I still think the app is awful, but it's just got zero personality, which is a shame, because you launch Claude and ChatGPT, and it does feel like they've got a little bit more personality around them.
Yeah, and you can modify that. And Joanna Stern did a really good video of like 1 week with new Siri, which if you get the chance, go and find the YouTube link for the listeners or the viewers, because it's really quite well done. She does things, what she'd have done with old Siri. Will it do some of the actions like open the garage door and all that kind of stuff? And it's just quite a well put together video, which isn't surprising from Joanna Stern. She's good like that. So I'd recommend people seek that out.
I will try and find the link for the show notes.
In the meantime, let's move on to the news. So in the news, we've got the big story really is Tim Cook coming out and saying that Apple price increases are unavoidable due to our word, Ramageddon.
Ramageddon. That's a good word, to be fair.
It is, isn't it?
I get behind Ramageddon.
Good.
Are you not surprised, though, that we haven't had this before now?
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was. I was like, how is this not been 6 months ago, a year ago? Everybody's been saying around it. I want to see the Steam Machine come out. It's been delayed. We've got another story coming up in a minute with a phone being delayed because of RAM. I do actually think, to be fair to Apple, they have been trying to swallow the pricing, or they had such a good deal and they bought so much so far into the future that it's now just starting to bite them. So I was quite impressed that they've maintained their existing prices. Either we were massively overpaying before, or they were absorbing some, or a little bit of both. So fair play.
I think I'd probably go with both. What comes out of this is we don't know how much this is going to cost, but given Apple's existing pricing, I can't think it's going to be cheap for anybody. And it's very unfortunate in a year where they've released their best value laptop in years, that they're immediately going to run into these sort of price increases and have to jack everything up. And it may very quickly not look like the best laptop in years if the price goes up 200, 300, 400 quid. I am feeling quite smug about having bought a phone, though, because I think the next generation of phones are not going to be cheap at all.
I'd agree with that, because one of my kids was asking me, Dad, are you going to buy the iPhone Ultra when it comes out? And I was like, A, I haven't seen it and don't know what it's like, but B, I'm a little scared of how much it's going to cost, to be really honest. So I think you actually did a good thing and bought your phone, because there's talk of your phone going up now in value. And it's a weird time to be in, isn't it? Like probably my laptop, my Mac Mini, my iPhone, my iPad, they're probably worth more now than when I bought them a year ago. So one of us has got to sell an iPad Pro, actually. So it'll be interesting to see what money I recuperate for that.
It's funny, I've been looking at a lot of car stuff recently and people reviewing second-hand cars just because I'm in a bit of turmoil about what I might get next. And one of the vague things I'm thinking about is the Toyota RAV4. Because I might be moving house and things like that. I want something with a bit more space, bit of ground clearance, who knows where I'll end up, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in Australia, second-hand ones were worth more than new ones because the waiting list for new ones was so long that people wanted second-hand ones, to the tune of $20,000. And
wow, that's crazy.
And I feel like the same thing might be about to happen to Apple products. Not as much as $20,000, but this is really going to affect the industry. And what's the knock-on effect for this? Just to bring this back to cars for a second. Tim Cook's saying that's going to go up. Every motor manufacturer, particularly your Teslas, Volkswagens, Rivians, people like that, use a lot of RAM and processing power these days in SSD space, as everybody does. It's what people expect in their cars. Surely other industries are very soon now going to have to reflect similar price increases for the same reason.
Yeah, you're right. It is just crazy. Like it blows my mind. Like I say, that my Mac Mini, which is quite well spec'd, is, like I say, it's probably worth a lot more than what it was. However, I'm not going to be buying a new one anytime soon because I won't be able to get one, and it will be more expensive anyway. So I can't really sell it. So yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's strange times. We're not used to this, are we? Being in the IT world, normally what we buy is worth half the next year.
Yeah, or the next minute in some cases. Yeah, so thanks, Tim. Obviously, Tim's going to take all the bad news as well before John comes in next time.
It's going to be a tough first gig for John Turnus, I think. He's going to stand up and announce hopefully some amazing tech, but also announce some scary pricing.
Yeah, if it's also 20%, 30% more expensive, then that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow.
Agreed. Maybe they'll wheel Tim out for one last keynote.
Speaking of bitter pills, Nothing, who have a budget brand of phones, so we quite like Nothing on this podcast. I think it's a British company making interesting Android phones with quirky design that I think we both quite like because it's a little bit different for good value up till now. And they are a budget brand, and they have an even more budget brand called CMF. And the Ramageddon has hit them so hard that they're actually not going to release a cheaper phone this year, which is, I think, it's really bad.
Agreed, but reading the CEO's comment, he's like, we just don't think we can do it, and I kind of get it. Like, it would probably be a tough pill to swallow. Like, we can't do what that brand set out to achieve, so why bother? So I kind of don't disagree with him.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. I mean, Raspberry Pi are probably feeling fairly similar at the moment as well. You build a single board computer that's limited on RAM, built down to a cost, and now that you've only put 8 gigs is the maximum you can get in the current generation Raspberry Pi, maybe 16, but even that, it feels like a step too far. It's crazy.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, it's unprecedented times at the moment, isn't it?
In other news that's actually quite good for a change, if you're a Time Machine user, which Time Machine was Apple's technology that was built into, well, there's two parts to Time Machine, isn't there? There was the Time Machine software, which you could set up on any NAS, preferably an Apple one when they made that kind of thing, anything with a hard disk attached, another Mac, something like that, where it would continually, or every hour at least, back up the state of your computer to that. Really good idea, nice simple backup. Not great to restore from if you've ever tried from it, but at least you had files you could get back into with I think it's fair to say, absolutely stupid interface for being able to rewind to where you wanted to get to. With it's like you went in a warp space and you could click on the calendar and roll the files back to when you change them and all that kind of stuff. So,
proper skeuomorphism space, like fantastic, loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it did what it said in the tin, I guess. So Time Machine was that backup technology, but Apple also released Time Capsules, which were their airport routers with hard disks in them that could act as backup areas for any machines on your network. Really good idea.
I loved all this. Like, I thought it was ahead of its time. Like, it was easy to use, easy to up. It cost a couple of quid. But actually, if you just wanted to back your Mac up to another place and you could throw a bit of money at it without actually having to do much, it was quite accessible. And it's a shame that they walked away from this whole range of products because they had some good stuff there.
I mean, you and I are both deeply into the Unify ecosystem at this point, and I don't miss the Apple ecosystem, but it was. I mean, the first wireless router I ever bought was an Airport.
Same. But if you think about it, though, it was easy accessible when Ubiquiti didn't exist, Era didn't exist, and it worked well with your network. Whereas I think now there's other stuff out there, we've probably got a bit more techie into it, but at the time you could buy one of those and it was good. It would do mesh technology. It was clever tech.
Yep, it was good. So Time Capsule went away because of macOS 27. They said they weren't going to support it anymore. But some crazy hacker, or some excellent hacker, James Chang, has a GitHub repo here where you can actually enable your Time Capsule SMB or Time Capsules again in macOS 27. And I think this is what we need to see in these days of Ramageddon and SSD again, is keeping existing technologies running. And I'd like to see the same sort of thing for those Intel Macs that have just come out of support, or anything with a T2 chip in it, or the M1 when that happens for these projects. I think people may be unable to buy newer technology given the costs. I know Apple want to sell it, but they could release it, couldn't they? And I think that things like this I'm a big fan of.
No, I'd agree. I think that's fair. Like, nobody can afford newer tech. I've been watching hard drives, and the one I was going to buy this morning has gone up by 20 quid, and it's only 7 hours later. So it's just great. The world is crazy at the moment.
Yeah, and it's Prime Day tomorrow, and once upon a time you'd have been looking for some sweet deals on hard drives and SSDs. I'd
just love it to take that 20 quid back off, please, and maybe then I'll quickly order it.
And another 100 while you're at it, because it's gone up a lot since would have been 2 years ago.
I agreed, it's doubled in price.
Yeah. Something else that Apple might want to keep an eye on over and above SSD prices is how they're carrying on in the EU. So this is a new probe from Italy looking at iCloud services like iPhone backups and all their services and all this kind of stuff. So Italy's investigating Apple over potential monopoly issues under the EU's DMA. This time it's iCloud that's at fault. It's Italy's digital authority, the AGCM, has accused the company of not granting third-party cloud storage operators the same access to its iOS, iPadOS operating systems. And that's hard to argue with.
Yeah, I concur with that. Yeah, Apple's going to do Apple, though.
Yeah, and I think you and I both roll our own a little bit here now. I know you're moving away in music. More news on that later. I moved away from photos a long time ago, and I back up my own photo library to an image thing. I actually don't use that many services from the system like I used to. I think I only really keep it to give the kids access to the things they're used to using more than anything.
Well, I think we are in a similar place.
Yeah,
and the grandparents for me. I think I've got grandparents and kids to deal with, but not myself.
yeah. It's £40 a month, though, isn't it, for a service you don't make maximal use of yourself? It's a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, and I'll see where I end up with it, I think, as I continue on my vein of shedding services that I don't need anymore. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, let's come back to that. Anyway, I think Italy are quite right to be looking at this because there is a monopoly, and it's just another reason why Apple is probably going, I wonder if we can stop doing business in the EU altogether.
Well, yeah, it'd be crazy, wouldn't it? But it is such a small amount of their global revenue. But there you go.
Yeah, they're not doing well. Speaking of somebody who well, he is doing well, so it's the exact opposite of that. I just thought this write-up in Wired was just absolutely mental. So this is from Wired by Del Cameron and Yulia Almazova from June the 16th about Peter Thiel, who is the head of Palantir, amongst a few other things, a secretive billionaire, I think it's fair to call him. Maybe not that secretive, has leaked some data exposing members of this secretive dialogue society, which is more than 200 of the world's elites, I presume Elon Musk's in there, registered for a retreat whose agenda runs from panels on cult building and sex to prepping World War III. An associate app offers matchmaking. This is just the most bonkers story.
Agreed. I don't really get to read it because I had to sign up to Wired and I wasn't in the mood for doing a trial with Wired. But
it's in your Apple News subscription as well.
Oh, I should have gone and look there. I wish it would pop up like when you're in Safari. Did you know you can go over here and read this for free? That would be great. Well, Peter Thiel's not that secretive, is he? Because he's the guy who backed Facebook at the start. It just seems an odd agenda. But yeah, the fact there's a leak, like, come on now. Like, would the elite want to be leaked? Probably not. You think you'd be paying a bit extra for extra security and extra caution?
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? But clearly not. And it's Palantir. They're super secure, right? That wasn't a very positive noise, was it?
No.
Yeah.
I hate Palantir with a burning passion.
Yeah, and I've brought them up again. Anyway, if you've got access to Apple News or there's a leak, I think the original link for this, I did manage to read the whole story on it, but you know what these things like, sometimes they expire. I originally picked this up on Mastodon from somebody, but if you've got access to Wired in some way, go and have a read of the story because it's wild. I mean, it's the kind of conspiracy theory that people have had about the super rich for years, that they're trying to do their own thing. That whole Netflix film, Don't Look Up, with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, was more or less the same sort of thing, that some people were actively seeking the end of the world so they can get on and, you know, start their own societies again. This kind of smacks of that, you know?
Yeah, agreed. The agenda does seem crazy, doesn't it?
It really does. Speaking of leaks, Peter Thiel is not the only one. So in this next story, OpenAI, unsurprisingly, this is from Ars Technica, is losing billions of dollars a year. And are you shocked?
I'm not shocked, but if you scroll down just a little bit to the graph, like you read this first graph here, and you're like, okay, let me get my head around it. So 24, they did 3.7 billion in revenue. Okay. But in 24, they did 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 billion of expenses. So, you know, you got a 10 billion gap there. And you're like, wow, okay, that seems excessive. So you then go to 25, revenue's up to 13 billion in 25. Okay, that sounds right. But then their expenses are up to, what's that, 32 billion? Yeah. And so you've got a deficit there of circa 18, 19 billion dollars. Like, that's a huge deficit. How would you keep that gap going? Do you know what I mean? Like, how long can you sustain that deficit between what's coming in and what's going out? Because so you're going to run out of money at some point, and we're not talking a small amount of money here, are we?
So Microsoft have been giving them quite a lot of money and data center costs and all this kind of stuff. And OpenAI incurred training new models include $10.59 billion in R&D costs paid to Microsoft in 2025. And let's be clear, this is 2025. You know, we're only halfway through 2026, and none of these numbers will have gone down. I'm looking at these graphs, and tell me, where is the server costs and your power costs and your air conditioning costs in here?
I don't know. General and administrative, maybe. I don't know.
Well, general administrative is only 1.57 billion, and you know, is only 0.9 billion in 2024. That doesn't seem right to me. If you're actively building data centers and you're buying GPUs, and we all know how much RAM is at the moment, that doesn't seem right to me. So is it research?
They've probably just banged it all in research and development. So I think that's where you were heading as well. They've got some creative accounting on board, I reckon.
They've got some super creative accounting going on here. I think they're actually hiding the true cost of what's going on here. I mean, this is leaked SEC paperwork about the IPO. I think there's some smoke and mirrors going on here. I really do. I mean, I'm not a financial, journalist. I'm not that good at the kind of stuff. But we do know that there's been some circular accounting going on with one company giving the other GPUs and then undercharging them on something else in their data center, given, for RAM and all the rest of it and for access to the models. And it's all a bit creative, really. And this is why we keep talking about a bubble in these LLM models, is because of this kind of thing. That however much you've spent on Claude this month, I know I've only spent 18 quid on Claude this month, but I think you've spent more than me, is not a drop in the ocean compared to how much the server costs are, compared to how much continued R&D is, particularly if your model is then blacklisted by the United States government. You're not allowed to use it in the case of Claude. There's a lot hidden within some bar charts here.
Agreed, but you can see now why people think that the bubble may burst, because this can't carry on, can it? Either they're going to come out the other end and they're going to have huge back-in, or they're going to do another partnership like they do with Microsoft or whatever it may be, or they're going to reach a point where we've run out of money to sustain the gap because we can't bridge it for long enough. So it's going to be super interesting to see where this ends up.
I think they've fallen out with Microsoft, haven't they?
Yep.
Fallen out with Microsoft, fallen out with Apple. Could be tough times for OpenAI.
Yeah, it does feel like it. It does feel like Claude's having a resurgence. Obviously, Gemini was nowhere, and it feels like fair play to Google. They've played the long game here.
Don't bet against Google. I mean, you never get fired from an IBM. You might never get fired for buying Google. Although, you will if your data sold.
Well, there is that. But I think we just got used to either your data sold or leaked. One of the two is going to happen.
A company you maybe should have bet against back in the day is Commodore. Commodore obviously bit the big one many years ago, and they've had various resurgences over the year. In the last year, they were bought by a retro gaming enthusiast who had a bit of money, and he relaunched the Commodore 64 with new affordances such as HDMI ports and the ability to store things on the SSD and do all sorts of stuff in the original form factor of the thing. And I had a Commodore 64 as a kid, so every so often I sort of side-eye these and I go, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a proper blast at one of them. However, they've released a phone, and it's a flip phone in the style of a Commodore 64 computer. And I don't know, what do you think about this?
It's kind of in the style of a Commodore, but in a early 2000s flip phone. I don't get it. To me, it doesn't look like there's any good redeeming features here. I'm sorry. No, I wasn't a Commodore person. My brother had one. You've obviously had one. So I've got no nostalgia for the brand. I've got no nostalgia for that phone. I don't really know what they're trying to do with it, to be honest with you.
So I think what they're trying to jump on is a bit of nostalgia, and we've got a little bit of a story about nostalgia in the main show. And let's face it, you haven't been not guilty of buying the odd iPod yourself recently.
I think that's fair to say.
Of that kind of feeling, like the Motorola Razr from back in the day. We've talked before about simplified phones where you're not just doom scrolling all the time. And this phone, I mean, it does look quite slim. It is in that sort of beige plastic the computers used to come in the Commodore 64 did. It has got a nice big screen on the inside, which will let you do your WhatsApps and your Telegrams and all that kind of stuff as well. It doesn't, I don't think, have a web browser or anything like that. So it's sort of appealing to those people who do want to sort of step back from the sort of fully engaged with their phone thing. So there's something of that in there. I mean, I don't mind the styling. The brown and beige is exactly what a Commodore 64. I'm not going to rush out and buy one of these. This isn't for me. But I can kind of see what they're going for. And fair play to them. Props to them for trying, frankly.
Agreed. The problem I have with it is if you bought it, how long are they going to keep supporting this for? It doesn't feel like it's going to be supported for that long.
I guess it depends how many they sell. If they sell 4, then it's not being supported. If they sell 4 million, then maybe.
That's a lot to sell.
I don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to sell 4 million. And they could try and do stuff. And I can't remember because I've been reading a bunch of these articles. Is there any C64 gaming built into these? Because that could be quite fun. If you put a couple of games in there to emulate, that could be quite a fun thing. Yeah,
lean into your brand and your history. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that statement.
Yeah, and I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. If you want to make it look Trump coloured, you can do that too. So it's interesting.
That's terrific.
That phone's out, by the way. It's a rebranded HTC phone from 2 years ago, the Trump phone.
Yeah, we did it, didn't we? We touched on it.
I think we touched on it, but not in any great detail. But yeah, I'm not against this. I don't think it'll do very well, but I think at a time when we're sort of looking at Google and we're looking at Apple a little more skeptically, I think having more options is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your statement there. It's good to have choice because for a long time it was Samsung really or Apple. So more choice is good, obviously. This isn't for me.
Fair enough. Shall we do some media?
Let's do the media.
I want to talk about Letterkenny. Have you even heard of Letterkenny?
Nope.
My Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not a big shock though, is it?
No, it's not. So it's one of those shows, I don't really know how to describe it. Merlin Mann, who I'm a big fan of, and listeners may have heard him on MacBreak Weekly and other shows, it's quite ahead of the times with a lot of these things. He lives in California. He's a massive fan of British comedy. He loves a bit of Taskmaster and a bit of Reeves Mortimer, all that kind of stuff. And about 5 years ago, I remember him tweeting about Letterkenny, and I thought, I don't know what that is. And then the YouTube algorithm surfaced something up to me about the making of it. And then I discovered all of it, all 12 seasons were on ITVX. So I thought, okay, I'll check it out. If you come from a small town, I think anywhere in the world, you'll find something in this that will make you laugh. It's genuinely laugh out loud funny in places with some of the things they say. And everything is delivered in a very Canadian, using their slang, very rapid fire way. But the script writing is really tight. They're only 22-minute episodes. There will always be one moment in it that makes me laugh out loud. And I'm not going to repeat any of it because some of it's quite rude. But it captures that feeling of coming from a town of like less than 6,000 people really, really accurately, and I admire it for that. So if you've got 5 minutes, just watch the first 10 minutes of the first episode of Letterkenny on ITVX, and I'd be really interested in your take.
One, there's 12 seasons.
Yep, but there's only 6 episodes in the season.
Okay. 2, I will say ITVX, BBC iPlayer, probably all 4 here in the UK. They are treasure troves of content. They've got so much content on them of back catalogues, full seasons. Actually, you don't need to go and buy it or go and get another add-on to go and watch that content. There's a lot of it already, probably in apps you already use.
Yep, exactly.
And 3, I will try to get to it, but I can't promise.
20 minutes, Chris, you can manage it. Just give it a go. Give it a go.
Okay.
And I'd point out the audience score of 89% on Rotten Tomatoes as well.
Yeah, that is very good. Shame nobody reviewers have reviewed it, but the audience, I get behind the audience every time.
I think critics are a bit sniffy about it, but I loved it.
Fair enough. It's nice when you find something like that strikes a chord.
Star City, which is the spin-off of For All Mankind on Apple TV, which I've just shut the tab for and I didn't mean to do. Sorry, viewers. Oh God, it's all gone tricky. Chris, tell us about Star City.
I don't know much about Star City, but I know it's a spin-off. It's got Rhys Ifans in it, and it's got the lady actor that I can't remember her name, but I saw her recently on a talk show. But it's a spin-off, and they play Russians, if I remember correctly.
You do. It's like Chernobyl. It's a Chernobyl-fied version of this. It's the same timeline as For All Mankind, but it's the Russian perspective of it. Rhys Ifans is phenomenal in it. I think it's Andy Serkis's daughter that you're thinking of as the other actress.
Maybe.
Yeah, her surname is something Serkis. It's really good. I quite like they've ramped up the sort of paranoia, unsurprisingly, with everybody spying on you in the Soviet Union at that sort of time. And literally they are. Half the story is about the KGB listening on what the astronauts are getting up to, the cosmonauts are getting up to, and all the rest of it. Rhys Ifans is knocking it out of the park. It's nice to hear him do something with his Welsh accent and not to have to put on some weird American or fake English accent as he did with House of the Dragon. So this is terrific. And you'll see again, in this case, the critics absolutely love For All Mankind, Star City. The audience a little bit less sold on it, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm going to wait till Friday so I can binge 2 episodes in a row because I missed one because I was away at a conference for work. But yeah, I'm loving Star City. It's terrific.
I love the look of it, like his glasses, the headset he's got on. He's got long hair, obviously. I just like whoever's done the wardrobe on it. It just looks fantastic.
And in the same way, Chernobyl sort of leaned into that regional British accent for the sort of Russians in it. This does the same thing. Everybody's Northern or Welsh or Scots or all that kind of stuff. And it, for some reason, I think it's probably because Americans always portray Brits as bad guys. It works quite well. And
okay.
I think we are more sympathetic to it because they are speaking with their accents in the same way it worked well in Chernobyl. So it's like Chernobyl, but with For All Mankind sprinkled through it. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, I should give this a word. Actually, I think this is definitely my more. This has got more chance of getting into my wheelhouse. I think.
Than Letterkenny?
I think so. I probably would enjoy Letterkenny. I'm scared by the 12 seasons because I know once I start it, I wouldn't stop.
And last but not least for me, everybody has been raving about Widow's Bay on Apple TV. It's already been renewed for a second season. I was a bit hesitant. Speaking of Welsh actors, this stars another Welsh actor whose name immediately escapes me, Matthew Rhys. And it's described as a horror comedy, which Chris is making a face. Yeah, that's fair. It's more like an element of danger than full-on horror for the first two episodes that I've watched. It's set on a fictional island that's a bit like Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, one of those islands off the coast of Massachusetts. The sort of hook being there's a fog, people might come back to life as zombies. I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't seen enough episodes of it to say that. Matthew Rhys plays the mayor. If you're born on the island and you leave the island, you die within about like 6 minutes or something like that. So there's a whole sort of backstory that's sort of building up through it. It's really well made, like really well made. It's genuinely funny. The script is good. The horror moments, I'm expecting them, so I'm kind of forecasting what's going to happen, but it's really well done. Yeah, I think check it out. And again, the first episode's 45 minutes, but then it settles down to like 30-minute episodes as well.
Okay. Stop putting more on my watch list. That's what I'm going to say, but I have heard good things about it.
But look at this, 98% critics, 93% audience. It's pretty good, pretty solid.
Yeah, it is very good.
You've been busy, it looks like.
A little bit, which is kind of linked to a little bit of the main show, but I actually went and watched a couple of James Bonds, and I know you've watched them, so we don't need to go into too much detail, but I went and watched Dr. No, and for some reason I thought Dr. No, the first James Bond ever, was the Goldfinger Bond. I thought he was the baddie. I thought he was Dr. No, and I don't know why I got those two conflated, because Dr. No is a very different shape and size to Goldfinger. But actually, I've gone back and I watched Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger, just because I was watching another comedy show and it said, we all love Sean Connery as James Bond. And I was like, I haven't actually gone back and watched them. You'd obviously watched them. So I flipped through them, the three of them. And actually, I remember them quite, once I started watching them, I was like, I have seen this enough times that I roughly knew the stories, the gadgets, the cars. I quite enjoyed all three of them. I think it's fair to say. I think they're all good. Some of the behaviours probably haven't stood up that well over time. I think that is fair to say. But I guess because I've grown up with them, I didn't think anything different of them. But I generally quite enjoyed it. And when the music starts playing in the first one, you're like, crumbs, they got that music from the very outset. Do you know what I mean? Like, they got some things they obviously got really early doors. I thought it was quite cool. And how suave like Bond is in Dr. No. So quite enjoyed it. Probably will carry on a few more. I wouldn't mind to finish the Sean Connery era. I think that's what I'm trying to do without watching them all. But they're really good. Yeah, generally really good. And it's nice to go back and see it.
So yeah, I mean, that sounds very similar to my review when I was working my way through these. That I think Bond is an amazing series of films to watch. I'll be curious to see, depending on how many you do, if you come away with the same conclusion to me. The Bonds are all good. Obviously, Connery's the best. But the Bonds are all good. But it's the scripts that sort of really make the films, which isn't a surprise to anyone. The music was there. The look was there. I think all of the Bonds can rock that. You know, the particular, slightly stuffy British secret agent who can, you know, turn to when he needs to is beaten but never actually beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Connery sort of set the tone for that, but is served by Dr. No is a good script. From Russia with Love is an excellent script. I mean, I genuinely think it's one of the best Bond films when you go back and watch them again. Gets a bit silly at the end with the speedboats and the explosives, but other than that, it's an actual proper spy film. Whereas the rest of, and Dr. No is to a certain extent as well, but even it had the crazy nuclear reactor with things that were too big and levels and things going ooh and all this kind of, and henchmen and things that GoldenEye or Goldfinger really sort of settled into. Yeah, I good. And again, it's funny going back and looking at these not as the person reviewing them, but going, yeah, look at the critics and look at the audiences. They're very much on all of these films. 99% from critics for Goldfinger, for goodness sake. 97% from Russia with Love. Good films, classic films.
Yeah, on the whole, good. And just the way they introduced like the Aston Martin, which is now so famous, and it came up in the third one, I think it's his car with the revolving number plates. The only plot point I did notice though is it's got bulletproof glass on it. So why does it have a bulletproof shield that comes up as well? And I was like, why have I done the two? But I loved it. I just think it's cool. And Yeah, brought back a bit of my childhood because I used to watch TV. They were always on TV when we were kids, right?
They were, but all the slapping women around and just force them to kiss you until they actually like you stuff is a bit rapey. It's not great.
Yeah, that's not my bag, I must confess. But I guess we know the difference between right and wrong.
Hopefully so. Shall we do some games?
Go on then.
So, only a couple of stories, and one of which makes me deeply uncomfortable. Have you played the game PUBG?
No.
So it's Player Unknown Battleground, and it really
Is that what that means?
Yeah. It really kick-started the Battle Royale thing that Fortnite and Warzone and RedSec and Battlefield 6, and there's a whole sequence of these games now that do that. PUBG started this, and it is a mod of I can't remember DayZ or something like that. It's a mod of something else that one guy actually tinkered with enough to give us the Battle Royale that we don't know, and it has been continuously updated since then. I think a Chinese company, Tencent or someone like that, initially bought it, and now it's taken on its next generation, which is they've built in LLM bots for your team. So if you're normally like a two-player person, you haven't got any mates, then they'll parachute in an AI with you that's relatively sensible to play the game with you. Disturbingly, Krafton also make bots for the military, so you could actually be helping train the next generation of autonomous drones and soldiers that could actually end up killing people. So I'm a bit uncomfortable about that, as per the Rock Paper Shotgun write-up.
That sounds a bit weird.
It's not great, is it?
No, not at all.
It's really not great. And then, and I need to try and mute this. Jack Frags, who is a YouTuber who I have a lot of time for, he's been around a long time. He's done songs. He primarily does Battlefield content, is what he does. He actually, and if this would let me skip on, does a video where he plays a whole game with the bot. It's 17 minutes. If you're not into watching computer games, then fair enough. But I'd give this a whirl just for what he does in the first couple of minutes of this, where he tells the bot to throw a grenade at his feet, and it does. And it does. You can see him. He died to friendly fire there. Just to give you a feel of what the bot is capable of doing. And he starts talking about maybe we should get married, maybe we should go and live on this beach together and get a pet, just to test it to see what it will do. So,
okay. In
the interest of research for what AI is doing within computer games, I just think this is an interesting move.
It is. I don't think I like it though.
No, and I'm with you. I don't like it at all either. That what they're doing is it's right on the edges of acceptability, frankly.
Yeah, agreed on that one.
But they're going to go, but we're just, if you haven't got any mates to play the game with, we're letting you engage in this particular aspect of the game you wouldn't have. And you don't type to it, you of course speak to it through your headset and your microphone.
Yeah, I guess I just don't do enough online gaming or any online gaming to want to partake in this world.
Well, maybe you're missing out. Next from me, I was looking for something to play on the PlayStation the other day, and I realised that in my PlayStation Network account, I have access to Marvel Spider-Man 2. I loved the old Lord of the Rings games where you were like a ranger working your way around Mordor, and there was a whole boss system when you got killed and people moved around and all the rest of it. And I think this is made by the same people, Insomniac. But a lot of rave reviews for Spider-Man 2, so I thought I'd fire it up on the PS5. Yeah, it's a very pretty game. It's the closest I've felt to being Spider-Man and something. You could whip around New York City, you can do venom attacks, you can, take out bad guys, big set pieces. Pretty good, not bad. So if you're looking for something on your PlayStation, and you want to make use of that 120 hertz and amazing graphics that the PlayStation's got, I think it's a good shout.
Yeah, my 12-year-old son would concur with that. He played this quite a bit when it came out and thoroughly enjoyed it. It is cool, and going around New York is kind of cool how they mapped all that. Very clever.
Yeah, not bad. And you have written a game in.
I have, because your advert prompted me. So we were on a page just now on Rock Paper Shotgun, and it had Star Fox at the bottom, which is a Nintendo Switch 2 game. Might be on the Switch 1. And I did give this a go because you could play a demo. It's on pre-order at the moment. And I was quite looking forward to it. It's like a fly game. And I thought, okay, I'll give this a whirl. I just didn't really get on with the mechanic of it. It just felt quite cramped on the screen. And I don't know, it just didn't really work for me, sadly. So I won't be pursuing to buy. But I was just looking for a new game on my Switch. And this isn't it for me. Sadly, yeah, the mechanics just didn't really work. But it's great you could have a demo. And it was quite a good demo, I thought, because it taught you all the mechanics of flying. Got you into the story, but yeah, just not my bag, sadly.
I played Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 64, and the only reason I had it was one of the other few 4-player games, and I had 4 of the joystick things, so it was a bit of fun to fly around and shoot your mates, but not as fun as GoldenEye.
The mechanic just wasn't working for me. Just, I didn't really like how you flew the ship. I just didn't feel very fluid. Maybe it's just me, my old man hands, but wasn't for me.
Fair enough. Main show?
Go on then, let's do the main show.
Well, I think it's actually all about you.
Yeah, for a change. Yeah.
So you're going to tell us about Claude, which I have a Claude account, but I'm not going to sign in, so you can't see my chat. So fire away.
So I just put a link into Claude here. So I was talking to some guys that work around Claude and called Claude Code, and I was aware of it, but I hadn't really used it. You know, I'd asked Google how to fix things when I've done coding before. So this time though, I actually just created a brand new project in Xcode and basically fed in the command. Let me think how I started. Like, create me an MP3 player that takes like a list of files and make me an app.
Hang on, I'm going to stop you immediately. So you linked your Claude account in Xcode. You weren't doing this outside. You weren't using one of the bots. You weren't doing one of those things. You directly linked it with an Xcode.
Wise, you stopped me. Yeah, you're right. So fired up Xcode 27, which is the brand new beta version of Xcode on macOS Golden Gate. So I'm using all the latest hotness from Apple. So this is after WWDC. And so I basically just fired it up because I've gone recently and downloaded all my MP3s because I was getting cheesed off with Apple Music and some of the slowness that was coming. So I basically said, look, create me a MP3 app that will take a folder full of MP3s where they're organized by artist, album, and then the tracks, and put a front end on it. And I didn't really give it much more than that, but it got us going. You know, I basically got a list out, and you could go, you know, pick an album and then press play, and you could listen to it. And then I started iterating on it. So it was okay, we'll take that, and then when it's playing, put it in the sidebar. And what we're going to do is actually when we play an album, we're going to put the whole album in the play queue because I like to listen to albums. And we show the album art and then the tracks underneath it, and we do that. And then and all I'm doing is just typing these commands in, and we're slowly just iterating on the design. And this was all on the Mac, so it was quite quick iteration. And basically, I got to a position where you could have a grid of all your covers. And here at this point, I've got 7,000 tracks in this library, and you can scroll through it all. You can pick one, put it in. And then I was like, why don't we have a random button? So you click on the random button, it would just pick an album and play a track off it. And so it does that. And then I was like, actually, we need shuffle. You know, I like shuffle in the car. So I was like, create a shuffle button and pick a song off one album and then go on to a different album. And it just went and did that. And when you click shuffle, you know, maybe show the icons in a different colors, show shuffles turned on. And then I put in repeat one track, and it just slowly built up. But all I'm doing is just feeding it slow iterative commands. Now, to do this with Claude, what you must do is you must give them some money. So you need to buy Claude Pro, which is about £20 a month. But what I found with Claude Pro is where I was iterating so much, I was actually burning through my credits too quick. So I actually went to Claude Max, which was about £90 a month. But to be fair to Claude, because I'd spent the £20, they took that off the bill. And I'm very much planning just to do this for 1 month, but get my usage out of it. So I've just done the regular Max, it says $100 here, but it's about £90 here in the UK. And basically I'm just working my way through it. But what I did was I just slowly kept tweaking the app. So I got it running on the Mac. And then I was like, I want this on my iPad. So make sure it works on the iPad. And I was like, I want it on the phone. Format it for the phone, but I'd start using it and go, on the phone, look, this bit's off the screen, or this bit doesn't quite work how I want. You know, when we're on the album art, can we maybe have a slider so we can adjust how big we want the album art to appear? And we just kept going through all those little steps. And I've actually got an app now that I can use on my Mac, my iPad, my phone. And then I got it to build the CarPlay bit. And so now it works on CarPlay in my car. And all I've done is just feed it lots of little commands. You could probably do it with a much bigger command. But I just wanted to deal with it one bit at a time, see how it looked, tweak it, see how it looked, tweak it. And that's where we've ended up. And literally today, I've just removed all my Apple Music off my iPhone, and I've just using my own personal app. I've called it Supersonic because it was after an Oasis song I was toying with in the first beta. Made it a little icon. I need to do some work on the icon. I don't want AI to make the icon. I want to make a nicer icon for it. But it's just super interesting, and how clever it is. But everything it's doing is all local. So all the music's local, all the artwork's local. You can even edit the MP3 tags on it, because where I was trying to get with this is I wanted one canonical music library that I could copy onto multiple devices, have all my music. It's about 70 or 80 gigs. I will add to it over time. but I want it to be nicely formatted, look tidy, not have all this remastered in there in the deluxe version of this, not go off and stream a different version of the song when I've got the version on my disc. And that's where I've ended up with it. And it's super quick because it's not trying to stream any music. It's not tracking what I'm clicking on, what I'm not clicking on. It's not trying to go and get some more information about the artist and supplement it. It's just what's in the MP3 tags. And I'm quite impressed with it. I think it's really quite cool. I feel a bit bad because I've done a load of coding without actually writing much code. I've done a few tweaks to it, which I've done myself. But to really test Claude out and with Xcode, super impressed that, I can just think of an app and off it goes and makes the code. I've tested it. I don't think I would want to sell it. I don't think I'd be comfortable doing that. But I think, Rod, I'm going to invite you into the beta so you can have a look at it. And I've just deployed it through TestFlight. And I already had all that set up, all the mechanics of TestFlight. And I've built apps before, so I kind of knew what I was doing. But it just blew my mind how capable it was and how it got in tune with what I was looking for as I was asking it for tweaks.
So you've gone vibe coding crazy.
Yeah, so I finished that app probably after the weekend, and then went on and started another app.
Hang on, before you go to that then. So that sounds great. How are you getting the music from your device, your storage, wherever your music is, onto the device?
Yeah, I haven't got a good answer to that at the moment. So basically all I've done is just create a folder on my phone called Music in the Files app, and then I've just connected to the server. For some reason, if I try and copy it off my Ubiquiti NAS, it just creates the empty folders but doesn't copy over the files. But if I copy it off my Mac, it copies everything. So I just copied it off my Mac that's got my main library on it, and I've just manually copied it over. And then you open up the app, and the first thing the app goes is, where's your music? And you point the app at the music, and it scans the music to cache it so that it keeps the app nice and responsive.
I would suggest you get Claude to code you a little agent that you can fire up on the Mac, that you point at a directory on your Mac or on your NAS or whatever it is, and then something in your app on the phone that looks for that agent. So just like a network aware thing, it could be an SMB share or something like that. But that would be there'll almost certainly be something that is in the open source world you'll be able to use for that, or it'll be able to code something for you that will do that. Because if you think of things like AltStore and all the rest of them, already these apps that let you synchronize comic book apps onto your iPad and all the rest of it, they all use something like that. So that might be my next prompt. I've then got another idea for you, without having seen this at all, is I think you might want to keep some metrics about what you've played with even if it's just a start, thumbs up, thumbs down to a track or something like that, how many times you've played an album, because people like that kind of thing. And you could have a very simple SQLite, database within that would just keep track of that would keep the speed of your app at that sort of level.
I did think about it a little bit of, actually, it would be quite nice to know what have I got, and just last night I did in a queue, so that actually when you put in shuffle mode, it shows you a queue like you've seen in Apple apps of what's up next, what are the next 20 tracks, you can jump to them. I thought about doing the tracking, but I just haven't got there yet. I don't know if I want to do it. I quite like that there's no tracking, but you're right, it might be good to look back over it and go, what songs have I listened to? Have I got any albums I've never listened to? And actually, because I'm manually keeping my library, actually maybe I'll just delete those albums, because I should never listen to them in 12 months, that kind of thing.
I mean, even if all it does to begin with is writes the total number of songs, albums, etc., to an info file, so when you click a button up in the top of the app, it goes, you've imported 5.6 gigabytes of stuff, that's 3,000 songs, 200 albums, whatever it is, just to give a little bit of info.
I've done that.
Already does that. But that's what I mean. If you're starting to collect that kind of data anyway, then just for the listener, something there where they can see how many times they've listened. The top 5 listens this week, this month, this year. That's all things people like. I know you said you don't want to sell it, but it does all make it a little bit more entertaining for people if you can. So but sounds good. Sounds like you've made a lot of progress in a short period of time.
I've actually quite enjoyed it, and it's been quite rewarding because, like, I was using the CarPlay on a 3-hour car journey, it worked fine, but there were some tweaks I wanted to make. I got home, started coming up with some tweaks, and it just went away and did it, and then tested them, and I was like, this is amazing. Because I remember years ago, and you might remember the rumor about the Vision Pro, they were like, you're going to be able to describe apps you want to make, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. But now I've actually gone and done it. I just couldn't believe it.
I mean, I did a similar thing with my Fuel Finder app to find the cheapest petrol close to me. I did exactly the same thing. I opened up the last version of Xcode because I'm not silly enough to install the betas, except on one laptop. Got registered with the government API, set up a little server. I designed a server component. I vibe coded a server component, which didn't need a lot of security because it was just pulling from the government API at one point. And then I used that as the centralization database for whatever client sets it, and then no data was passing other than wake up, hit the API for it's been updated in the last 12 hours, pull that down directly to the phone, and then you just use the phone for all the local stuff. So no identity was sort of changing hands from that point of view. And I did the same thing. I entered my Claude tokens into Xcode. I described what I wanted, and I just sort of made it, gave it tweaks over the time. And if you got, it would throw errors. You'd say, hang on, why have you got this error? Why is that, not supported? Is this is being deprecated? Whatever it was, and it would change it all on the fly. I did it with just the Pro account though, and would wait for my tokens to come back because I wasn't impatient.
I did start waiting for the tokens, but it was just because I think I was asking it quite lumpy stuff. And because I didn't want to do it all in one command, we were going back and forth quite a bit. I just thought I will get the value out of the extra 70 quid. So I've spent the 70 quid, but I've actually generally quite enjoyed it. And I've actually really enjoyed listening to my music because the app is so quick. Like you tap an album and it starts playing immediately. And it works how I want it to work, because I've always got annoyed with Apple Music. When you're playing an album, it doesn't really show you as an album. It just shows, because it's obviously aimed at people that aren't really listening to albums anymore. They listen to the top 40 or whatever, or some random playlist. That's never really been how I listen to music. So this doesn't have playlist support at the moment. It's just either you're shuffling or you're playing an album, and that is it at the minute. I may well do some playlists, but just quite enjoyed it. And if I think of something, I can then tell it to go and do it, and then I can manipulate it to get the look and feel how I want it to be. So yeah, I've generally enjoyed myself.
Excellent. Well, you'll have to give us an update or add me to the beta, and we can feed back to listeners if they're interested as well. And now you've started a second app as well.
Yes, in the vein of I got my own music library, I've also got my own video library. So I thought, well, I'll do the same thing that I've done there, because I wanted to stream the videos off my NAS and cache them locally. And again, just started off writing, take VLC in essence, and can you play all those movies like the MKV, yeah, MP4s and AVIs? Can you just make me a player? And it was just that. And then it's like, okay, well, actually, I wouldn't mind to link it to my library on my NAS. Now, can you give me a library screen as well? And then I can pick a video, and then you can then hook into the movie database for free and get the poster art. And again, it's nice and fast, and it caches the posters. It organizes them. So say James Bond, I said, when they've got films that look like they're part of a series like James Bond or Harry Potter, put them in chronological order, not in alphabetical order. And so it does things like that, because occasionally you'd have Harry Potter and it'd be all in different order because it'd be in alphabetical in a lot of players. And so it's just little things like that. But again, trying to keep it really light so that it's not downloading loads from the internet and slow. I just want to put on a movie and watch it. And then they've done the controller how I want it. I haven't got big dials coming up across the video. They're just a little controller bar down the bottom. And then I've just started setting up shortcuts. Again, you can just tell it what shortcuts you want, what commands you want in the menu bar. And then just before we were podcasting, I said, right, now make it work on Apple TV. And then actually, why don't we create links to the NAS and sync them over iCloud, so that when I go to my Apple TV, my links to my NAS are there. And I've actually got my remote library set up, so whatever device I go on, all the libraries are set up and I can just do that. And then we've done a queue as well, so that you can actually remember what you've been watching. And that's just a couple of commands throughout the day just to keep it moving. Very clever. I'm going to try and finish that one off. But that should then get me most of my consumption sorted.
I don't really get this when Jellyfin exists and VLC exists. And I mean, the music one I can get my head around, because you want something, you're scratching an itch that there's definitely an issue for around playing albums and having more control over your local music. Jellyfin, however, does most of this anyway, is a good player. It doesn't have to be a NAS. It does subtitles. It goes and gets the album art for you, etc., etc.
This does subtitles as well. It does audio tracks. It does album art. But what it doesn't need, though, is it doesn't need a component on your Mac. It will just go straight to the NAS box, which is good. So it removes another thing off my Mac. But also, I'm just quite enjoying it. I just quite enjoy making my own thing, work how I want it to work. And that way, I think I've struggled with films a little bit, because some I've been watching in VLC, some I've been watching on Jellyfin, some on Moonfin, some in other places. Actually, I want to have one way to go and watch all this media, and I just want to try out.
Moonfin's not very good. I know I recommended it before, but I've struggled with it.
I've got it working, but I'm not loving the interface. But I'm just enjoying it, if I'm being honest. And so I'm doing that, and I may well do something for audiobooks as well and comics and stuff. So I'm just trying to create consumption apps, and I think I could end up with about 3 apps, and I can consume all the media I want that's hosted on my NAS in the way I want to consume it.
Fair enough. Yep. No, good. We'll have to follow up on it. And just to sort of finish this section, I know you bought a couple of iPods recently, but I thought this article in Engadget was interesting this week. So this is from the 18th of June by Max Miller. Old iPods are making a comeback thanks to Gen Z as we'd say in the UK. Does that make you Gen Z, Chris?
I don't know what gen I am. I was born in the 1980s. I think I can't think what it's called. As soon as you say it, I will know.
Gen X, probably.
Gen X, yeah, I think that's me. I did start off, and that's part of the reason I've ended up like this. I did go and buy an iPod, and I love it. I bought a reconditioned iPod with a new battery and all new gubbins and a fast hard drive. And the same library that I'm talking about here, that's in my Supersonic app, is also on my iPod, and it all syncs. And it's worth me putting the effort in to tidy it up. And I've been buying new albums on Amazon Prime, not Amazon Prime, Amazon MP3 store, because they come without DRM on it, so you can play them anywhere. And it's all kind of made sense, and I'm in my happy place with it.
I'm glad you're having so much fun with it. Yeah, well done.
I do feel, though, a little bit guilty that I am not doing the coding, but I don't think I'd have had the time to do the coding or the skills. But I've enjoyed the prompting and the output and the design process and thinking how I want it to look.
And now you can put prompt engineer on your CV.
Yeah, maybe, but even my prompts aren't really that engineered. I'm just saying, just go and do this, and let's iterate on it and do a little bit back and forth. But maybe that seems to be working well, and I've got the results I wanted.
I think the guy you need to watch is called Jeff Sue. He's a YouTuber who his prompts are there. Anyway, well, that's enough about that. Maybe come back to the next week. App of the week.
Yep. Yeah, do it.
So I was traveling recently. I took my Mac. A whole bunch of stuff like Apple price rises and the app tracking and the analytics and all the stuff came up, which made me reflect on when I get back to Wales, I'm gonna double down on my Linux stuff. And I went and installed a variant of Arch called CatchyOS on my ThinkPad, and for a change, because I've gone GNOME, because GNOME is more like the Mac. Whereas I've always thought KDE is a bit more like Windows, because it's got like the bottom left menu to start and all the rest of it. GNOME is a lot more Mac-like with like a dock, and it wants you to have one window full screen all the time and all that kind of stuff. It's quite prescriptive about the way you use it. KDE is not, so I thought I'd have a go with KDE for a change. And what a nice little operating system. It has got some things for laptop users, like in KDE, if you swipe up with 3 fingers, like with Mac, it will expose all windows and bring up the dock. On GNOME, whereas Plasma didn't seem to do that when I tried it before. But if you swipe up with 4 fingers, you get the same thing. So it's all there. It's different. It's so customizable, though. You can change everything in KDE Plasma. Speed of animations, how quickly you move between desktops, the color of one particular button. You can install icon packs. It's all downloadable from the internet. It has a clipboard manager built in. You don't need to go and download anything else. I know. And you hold down what Linux people call Meta, which is the Windows key, Meta V, and you get your clipboard as a shortcut. It pops up. All this stuff is just built into it. I've been really enjoying it. As a calendar built into it. Everything is pretty much there. So yeah, my app of the week this week is KDE Plasma.
It's amazing what scratches our itches lately, isn't it?
Isn't it just? I've got a whole Golden Gate to go and play with, but what I want to do is come back and play with a 8-year-old laptop and mess around with Linux.
Yeah, and I've got all the new advancements in the new OSs, and actually I just want to make an MP3 player like I would have had 10 years ago with Winamp.
Thing of the week.
So I actually just put in the movie database here. This was linked obviously to a bit of the code, and I was asking the computer to do for me. So the movie database, you can sign up for free, get an API key and link it to your app. And if you're using it for personal use, it's paying, I think. And I thought that was cool. And that's what I'm using to get the album art. And do you know what? I just had to tweak some of the names of my videos, and it's given me an album art for all the videos and all the TV shows in the album art that I wanted. And I was like, that's amazing. And I literally just gave the API key to Claude in Xcode, and it just went away and did all the gubbins for me. Very clever.
I would say don't give Claude your API keys.
It's too late now.
Okay, but you've given Claude and whoever reads Claude later on access to your API. So as a general tip to people
to the movie database.
Yeah. But if they absolutely smash your token, will the movie database know it's your code and come back and charge you at some point?
Or just kill my account, I guess. I don't know.
Or maybe I'd reissue a new API key and put that in for the one you know and not it knows. That's just a general safety tip when dealing with LLMs.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a fair point. I've been a little naive there, I guess. But I was just fully in the moment.
I'm not trying to LLM shame you, Chris.
But it is cool. But I would recommend people have a look at the movie database. It's a cool site. It looks a great service, and it's fast.
It is. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact, Rod is at g5mainake@mastodon.scot. I am at _CJP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and clicking on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.